The diplomatic chamber aboard the convergence station hummed with the subtle vibration of gravity generators maintaining Earth-standard conditions. Elvish Chen stood before the assembled council of 7 species, his worn leather jacket incongruous among the ceremonial robes and bioluminescent displays of the galaxy's most powerful civilizations. "You understand what we're offering?" Ambassador Thexler's translator chip rendered his chittering into flat, emotionless English. The insectoid's compound eyes reflected Elvish's image 1,000 times over. "A bride," Elvish said simply, his hands tucked into his pockets. "Elsa Vorthana, the Quantum Princess." A ripple passed through the council. The Saltine representative's tentacles curled defensively. Even saying her name aloud was considered dangerous by most spacefaring species. "You speak her designation without fear," noted Ambassador Yulmari, her crystalline body refracting the station's light into dancing patterns. "Have you researched what she is?" Elvish had done more than research. He'd spent 6 months accessing every database, classified file, and whispered rumor about the woman the galaxy called the Quantum Princess. Elsa Vorthana, last survivor of a species that had mastered quantum consciousness manipulation before humanity had invented the wheel. "She exists in superposition," Elvish recited. "Her consciousness operates across multiple quantum states simultaneously. She can perceive probability branches, collapse wave functions with directed thought, and her emotional states can create localized causality distortions within a 3-meter radius." "And you still accept?" Thexler's mandibles clicked in what the translator didn't bother interpreting, probably disbelief. "I accept." The truth was simpler than they'd understand. Humanity had sent Elvish because Earth needed this alliance. The Vorthana homeworld occupied a strategic position in the Kepler cluster, controlling access to 47 star systems. With Elsa's people extinct, destroyed by a quantum singularity of their own making, she was the sole inheritor of territorial rights that predated most galactic treaties. Marriage to Elsa would grant humanity legitimate claim to those systems. It would establish Earth as a major player in galactic politics. It would ensure humanity's survival in a crowded galaxy. But for Elvish, the calculation was different. He'd watched the classified footage of Elsa that Earth intelligence had obtained. He'd seen her sitting alone in her quantum-shielded chamber on Vorthana Station, a prison disguised as a palace. He'd seen her face, young, perhaps 20 in human years, bearing an expression he recognized intimately. Absolute isolation. The galaxy feared her because they couldn't comprehend her. Elvish understood that perfectly. He'd grown up as a quantum physicist who could see the math behind reality, unable to connect with people who thought in linear time and singular outcomes. "We have conditions," Ambassador Thexler continued. "The bonding ceremony must occur within a quantum-isolated chamber. You will be provided with a neural dampener to prevent permanent psychological damage from prolonged exposure to her consciousness. Your life expectancy will decrease. We estimate 15 to 20 years maximum cohabitation before neural degradation becomes terminal." "Understood. She has killed 3 previous suitors," Yulmari added quietly. "Not intentionally. Her emotions during the bonding ritual created probability cascades. One ceased to exist across all quantum timelines. One aged 60 years in 30 seconds. One's mind experienced every possible version of his death simultaneously until his consciousness simply stopped." Elvish's jaw tightened. Were they asked what she wanted, or just shown to her like specimens? The silence that followed was answer enough. "When do I meet her?" The quantum-shielded chamber felt wrong. Not wrong in any physical sense. The air pressure was perfect, the temperature comfortable, the lighting soft. But Elvish's physicist's intuition screamed that the fundamental constants of reality were being actively constrained here, held in place by technology he could barely comprehend. Elsa stood at the chamber's center, and she was beautiful in a way that hurt to perceive. Her silver hair seemed to exist in multiple positions simultaneously, creating a faint corona effect. Her eyes shifted through colors that didn't quite exist in normal spacetime: violet, ultraviolet, and something beyond. She wore a simple white dress that remained perfectly still despite the quantum uncertainty bleeding from her skin. "Another one," she said, her voice carrying harmonics that suggested she was speaking across multiple probability branches simultaneously. "Come to claim your prize, your systems, your strategic advantage." "Actually," Elvish said, stepping forward without the neural dampener the technicians had offered, "I came to ask if you wanted to leave this box." For the first time in the recorded footage being monitored by 17 species, Elsa Vorthana's quantum superposition collapsed into a single definite state. She stared at him with eyes that were suddenly, simply human-like in their surprise. "What?" "Earth's a nice planet," Elvish continued conversationally. "Wide open spaces. Nobody there who can perceive quantum states except me, so you wouldn't need to constantly maintain coherence for others' comfort. I've got a lab in Montana, middle of nowhere. You could just exist. No diplomatic functions unless you wanted them. No councils. No suitors. You're lying." But her voice wavered, probability branches converging and diverging around her words. "I'm a physicist," Elvish said, offering a slight smile. "We don't lie. We just present the data and see what happens. Here's my data. I find you fascinating, not frightening. I think the galaxy has imprisoned someone who never asked for this power or this isolation, and I think," he paused, choosing honesty over diplomacy, "you deserve to know what it's like to be around someone who sees you as a person, not a weapon or a resource." Elsa's form flickered through 17 possible responses before settling on one. She laughed, a sound like quantum bells, beautiful and strange and entirely genuine. "You're either the bravest human in existence," she said, "or the most foolish." "Probably both," Elvish admitted. "So, want to get married and see what happens?" The probability cascades that erupted from Elsa's sudden joy short-circuited 15 monitoring systems and caused 3 ambassadors to briefly exist as their younger selves. But within the quantum chaos, one outcome solidified with absolute certainty. "Yes," Elsa said, smiling for the first time in 10 years. "Yes, I do."